It's a fact. Every time a business appraiser or market participant uses a single period income capitalization method to determine a value indication, there is an implicit use of the discounted cash flow method. Chris Mercer here at Mercer Capital's headquarters in Memphis. I'm back up in Memphis from Port Orange where I did the last one. I am glad to be here, and I want to talk to you about a tale of two appraisers, a tale of two companies, or perhaps which company are we appraising. So let's talk about an example company and show what can happen when we employ the single period income capitalization method and we look at the implied discounted cash flows. First though, remember value is expected cash flow. That is expected cash flow capitalized by a discount rate less the expected growth rate in value. So that's our value. Now assume that two appraisers agree that the appropriate valuation multiple of EBITDA is 6. And that is implicit in this weighted average cost of capital that they have each employed. So let's see what happens. Here's the company. $2 million in 2014 in adjusted EBITDA, down to 1.7 or 15% the next year, up 33% to 2.26 million in 2016, down 32% to 1.5 million in 2017, and back up 62% to 2.5 million in 2018. Management's expectation for EBITDA for the coming year is 2.5 million in 2019. So appraiser one looks at this company and says the appropriate valuation method to determine capitalizable EBITDA is to take a weighted average, 1 on each year for 5 years and 0 on the expected EBITDA for 2019. That yields a weighted average EBITDA of $2 million. Okay, so $2 million is the historical trend line that this appraiser is utilizing, and $2 million is the basis upon which it will be capitalized. The next appraiser says, no, wait a minute, I think that management has something going here, and the appropriate weights are 3 on the forecast, 2 on the current year, and 1 on 2017. That weighted average is 2.5 million. So there's a big difference between 2 million and 2.5 million. So now we can look at the implied forecasts that each of these looks at this particular company have. The trend line for implied by the first appraiser is $2 million along the way, and now $2 million growing at 3 or 4%, whatever is implied or is used in the discount rate. The other appraiser says no, the trend line is really along this line to the $2.8 million, that is the expected results in 2019. The first appraiser has this trend line and this forecast coming from a base of $2 million. So it's growing from here. The second appraiser has this trend line, and it's growing from $2.5 million at the growth rate of G. Could be growing from $2.8 million if you absolutely believe management's forecast. Well, which is correct? Forecast trend line 1, 3, and 5, and a forecast growth of 3%, or 2, 4, and 6, and a forecast growth of 2 to 4%, 3 or 4%. The answer lies in what happened at number 1 in 2015 and what happened in 22 at 2017. And number 3, how much we believe management's forecast for the future for 2019 and beyond. One appraiser believed that management incurred some issues in 2017 that were fixed. And then again, some other issues in 2017 that were fixed, and realizes that capacity was added in 2018 and will be added again in 2019. That's the forecast with 3 weighted on the forecast, 2 on the current year, and 1 on the preceding year to give weight to the poorer performance before. So which one is correct? Well, I can't answer that question today. But what I can say is that fair market value is determined at the intersection of negotiations between hypothetical willing sellers and hypothetical willing buyers. If the forecast is appropriate for the first appraiser and expected earnings are really $1 million as opposed to or $2 million as opposed to 2.4 million, 2.8 million, then that hypothetical willing buyer would value the company at $12 million. That's what if the seller believes, for example, that the management's forecast is most appropriate. That management's forecast of 6 at 6 times EBITDA would be $16.8 million. Whereas the answer is somewhere in between, but in all likelihood, if it's believable that management has addressed the issues in 1 and 3, and the forecast is based upon enhanced capacity as well as better management, is a good one, then the answer may well be the 3 to 1, which yielded about a $2.5 million EBITDA. So that would have been about a $15 million valuation. The point is this: when we use the single period income capitalization method, we are implicitly applying a discounted cash flow method. The question really is that discounted cash flow, that forecast that we're using, realistic? You see this wedge here between the two weighted averages, $500,000 a year. At the multiple of 6, that's a $3 million difference. That wedge will never be caught up if the company is doing better. It will never be caught up in terms of value. So once again, every time a business appraiser or market participant uses a single period income capitalization method to determine a value indication, there is an implicit discounted cash flow forecast. My question to you is, when you do this, is your forecast the correct one? Is it 1, the lower one? Is it 2, the higher one? Or is it indeed something else? That's a matter of appraiser judgment. I'll leave that to you. This is Chris Mercer. I wish you the best until the next evaluation video. Good day.